Libra, my dear soul, what if I told you that today, October 9, is the day that changes everything, and you just don't know it yet? Yes, you heard that right. This moment is not random. You're here because the universe has something urgent, something hidden, and something life-altering to reveal to you. And this message, brought to you by Zodiac Whisper Tarot, is not just a reading. It's a divine transmission written in the stars and whispered through your soul. Libra, if your heart has been feeling heavy for reasons you can't explain. If you've been sensing that something is just out of sight, waiting to be uncovered, then what you're about to hear is for you. This is a deep dive reading that blends tarot, astrology, energy healing, divine timing, and yes, even the quiet voice of God that reaches us in the noise of everyday life. Today's energy is intense. The moon is in opposition to Uranus, stirring emotional revelations. Meanwhile, Mercury forms a sacred trine with Neptune, opening a clear line between your higher self and divine intuition. That's why today, October 9, is not just another day. It's a cosmic gateway. A spiritual exposure. And for many of you watching, it may lead to tears, but not from pain. From truth. From release. From breakthrough. The cards laid before me are undeniable: the moon, the tower, and the star. Together, they speak of a secret long hidden that is about to surface. Something you didn't even know was still living inside of you. A truth about a person, a decision, or a version of yourself you've been afraid to meet. Libra, you're known for balance. But sometimes the cost of peace is silence. And today, silence ends. I want you to really feel this. If you cry today, it won't be weakness. It will be liberation. A spiritual shaking. A divine reset. Something big is being rearranged on your behalf, and while it may feel overwhelming at first, I promise it is sacred. It is necessary. It is yours. But before we continue, allow me to take a moment to say this from the bottom of my heart: thank you. Thank you for being here. For every like, every comment, every subscription. You are not just supporting this channel, you are strengthening a soul family. You are keeping alive a sacred space where divine messages like this can find the people who need them the most. Zodiac Whisper Tarot is more than content. It's a living, breathing community of seekers, healers, believers, and dreamers. And you are part of it. You matter here. That's why I encourage you now to take part in this moment with me. If you feel something already stirring in your spirit, if your intuition is already whispering, "This is for me," then confirm it in the comments. Write the sacred number 777, our collective code for spiritual alignment and truth. It lets me know you're ready. And it lets the universe know you're listening. Stay with me until the very end, because Libra, what's being revealed today is nothing short of miraculous. Trust that you were led here. Not by accident. Not by the algorithm. But by divine invitation. Now, tell me, dear Libra, what called you here today? Sometimes the most powerful awakenings don't come in the form of thunder or lightning, but in a quiet shimmer like moonlight settling over still water. Libra, what you are stepping into right now isn't chaos, it's clarity emerging from stillness. When the moon appears in your reading, it's not simply a card about illusion or confusion, it's an invitation. An invitation to look beneath what is obvious, to uncover the silent truths you've tucked away behind smiles and balance and politeness. And today, under the rare alignment of Mercury's trine with Neptune, this invitation becomes unavoidable. It's easy to believe that we know ourselves. After all, we live in our minds, we feel our own emotions. But the truth is, we often compartmentalize so deeply that there are entire emotional rooms we haven't visited in years. The moon doesn't knock gently on those doors, it glides silently through them, casting silver light over the things we've tried to forget, ignore, or justify. It reveals the conversations we never had, the intuition we brushed aside, the choices we made while pretending not to feel their consequences. And on days like today, October 9, when lunar tension opposes revolutionary Uranus, those truths have no choice but to rise. What does that mean for you, Libra? It means that something you've suspected, sensed, or feared might finally step out of the shadows. Perhaps it's a truth in your relationships that you've been too gracious to name. Perhaps it's a knowing deep within your career or purpose that you've buried under logic and strategy. Or maybe it's a truth about yourself, something sacred and raw that you've been afraid to admit because doing so might unravel the story you've built so carefully. But I promise you, what unravels today is only what was never truly you. This is the work of emotional healing, not the glamorous kind that's shouted across headlines, but the sacred, personal kind that happens in quiet moments. The moment you pause mid-sentence because your throat tightens. The moment a dream from last night clings to your skin all day. The moment someone says something small, but it echoes through every cell of your being like a message written just for you. Those are not accidents. Those are moonlight keys turning in the locks of your subconscious. That's why today, I gently encourage you to take 10 quiet minutes for yourself. Sit in stillness. Take a notebook. Don't try to explain anything, don't try to solve anything. Just write, what do I already know that I've been pretending not to? Let your heart answer without editing. The truth doesn't need to be beautiful or polished, it just needs to be honest. And it will show you exactly where you need to go next. In the story of transformation, truth is always the first step. We cannot manifest what we are unwilling to acknowledge. The law of attraction responds not just to what we desire, but to what we are willing to face. So if you're praying for peace, for breakthrough, for a new path, know this: the moment you give your truth room to breathe, you are already being aligned with the answers you've been waiting for. And maybe, just maybe, this is one of those moments where heaven bends low, not in thunder, but in whispers. Where divine timing doesn't arrive like a storm, but as a light breeze that moves something inside you without warning. This isn't magic. It's alignment. And the more you allow your real, unspoken self to surface today, the faster you will step into the life that's already been prepared for you. If any part of this resonates with you, if you've ever felt something hidden shifting beneath the surface, drop a comment with the number 11. It's our sacred code today for insight revealed and paths unfolding. Let the universe know you're listening. Let your soul know you're ready. Not all breaking points are tragedies. Some are sacred corrections disguised as chaos. Libra, you may already feel it, tension building, the sense that something in your life is no longer sustainable. When the Tower appears in a reading, it doesn't come to destroy. It comes to interrupt what's false, fragile, or fear-based. It arrives like a storm, not to punish, but to clear the path. The Tower doesn't knock on your door gently, it removes the door entirely so that truth can finally walk in. We often build emotional structures in our lives, beliefs, habits, roles, even relationships that help us survive difficult seasons. And while they may have served a purpose once, they eventually become too tight, too limiting for who we are becoming. That's where the Tower comes in. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't ask for permission. It answers the silent prayer your soul has been whispering, "Please help me outgrow this." And sometimes, that help looks like disruption. Maybe today, it's a message you didn't expect, a conversation that stuns you, a truth that hits harder than you're prepared for. But even in the moment of collapse, there is a kind of grace present. It's the grace of being released from what was never truly aligned with your highest path. And I know it's frightening to feel like the ground beneath you is shifting. But perhaps that ground was never as solid as you believed. Perhaps it was only familiar. And there is a big difference between something feeling safe and something being right. In astrology, Uranus, the planet of awakening, currently opposes the moon, shaking emotional foundations and revealing buried truths. It's like the universe is saying, "I love you too much to let you settle for less than what you're here for." And this is where healing begins, not from pretending things are fine, but from surrendering to what's real, even if it's uncomfortable. Healing is not always calm. Sometimes it's thunder. Think of the people you admire, not because they've had an easy path, but because they chose to keep walking after everything fell apart. Because they dared to rebuild. And the truth is, rebuilding requires more courage than resisting the fall. But every great transformation begins with an unraveling. Every new chapter starts where the old one is torn down. There's a saying from scripture that feels relevant here, one I often carry with me in moments of dramatic shift: "No one pours new wine into old wineskins." In other words, you can't receive what's meant for your future while still clinging to the frameworks of your past. You have to make room. And sometimes, the universe doesn't wait for you to clean house, it simply removes what no longer belongs. So today, if something cracks open in your world, if something ends, pauses, or reveals itself in a way you didn't expect, take a breath and ask, "What is this freeing me from?" Because liberation rarely looks like comfort. It looks like truth, and truth doesn't always come wrapped in soft language. But here's what I can promise you: what remains after the tower falls is always more authentic. More aligned. More durable. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. And if this resonates with you, if some part of you knows that the shaking you feel is sacred, then I invite you to ground the moment with your voice. Type the words, "I choose truth," in the comments, not just as an affirmation, but as an act of courage. Because saying yes to truth, even when it hurts, is saying yes to the future that's meant for you. Hope rarely arrives in grand gestures. Most of the time, it whispers softly, after the chaos has passed, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Libra, in the stillness that follows your tower moment, something beautiful begins to rise. That something is you. The appearance of the star in your reading is no accident. It is a celestial reminder that even after your world shakes, you are not only still standing, you are glowing. There's a tenderness that comes after emotional upheaval, a vulnerability that makes everything feel quieter, more raw. But it's within that sacred pause that your spirit begins to rebuild. The star energy doesn't ask you to rush, to fix, or to prove anything. It asks only one thing: that you believe in the possibility of healing. Even if it's slow. Even if you're not sure how. even if you've never known what healing could feel like before. In astrology, the star is associated with Aquarius, a sign of vision, freedom, and divine realignment. It's a forward-looking card, guiding you to rebuild not as you were, but as you are meant to be. It says, now that the false has fallen, what truth are you ready to build upon? If you felt stuck, tired, or defeated lately, know that today marks the turning point. And not in a loud or flashy way but in small, sacred shifts. The first deep breath that doesn't carry weight. The unexpected sense of peace when you wake up. The pull to forgive, not because someone deserves it, but because you do. You may feel called to do something today that seems simple but is deeply symbolic, writing in a journal, sending an overdue apology, gently rinsing your face with rose water as a blessing over what you've endured. These small acts aren't meaningless. They are anchors of intention. They tell your soul, I'm ready to soften. I'm ready to begin again. And that's all healing ever really asks of us, a willingness to start. Today, the energy is especially supportive. In numerology, 9 out of 10 becomes a 1, the number of initiation, of clean slates, of new chapters that don't have to carry the heaviness of the last. Paired with the star, this is a day when you are cosmically supported in rewriting your story. The law of attraction responds deeply to this frequency. When your actions come from a place of restoration rather than desperation, you magnetize clarity, relationships, and opportunities that resonate with your evolved energy. And when you plant seeds in the soil of recovery, you harvest miracles that are rooted in peace. Even color plays a role in today's alignment. Soft sky blue and silver are not just beautiful, they are harmonics of hope. Sky blue invites you to breathe again. It opens your throat chakra, helping you speak your truth with gentleness and grace. Silver, connected to lunar wisdom, reflects your light back to you, especially the light you forgot you had. These are your healing tones today, your energetic allies. In your everyday life, it's easy to forget that rebirth doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it's simply the moment you look in the mirror and feel calm instead of chaos. Sometimes it's when you no longer react from pain, but from presence. These are the quiet signs that the star is working through you, even when you're not aware of it. If this speaks to your heart today, and you know deep down you are ready for your own return to light, I invite you to ground this moment by writing, I am reborn on October 9th, in the comments below. Let it be your mantra, your marker, your beginning. And above all, remember, no matter how long the night lasted, the stars never left you. They were simply waiting for you to look up. The moments after healing often bring clarity, and clarity can be a quiet revelation. Libra, as you begin to return to yourself softer, clearer, you'll notice that the people in your life start to shift too. Relationships mirror our growth, and when your heart transforms, the bonds around you must either deepen or dissolve. This isn't about drama. It's about truth. And today, that truth is rising in your connections. You may feel your intuition sharpening, almost like a spotlight is being cast on certain relationships. Someone's words might suddenly feel different, either more sincere or more hollow. A past connection may resurface through a message, a memory, or even a dream. And you might find yourself sensing instantly whether it's meant to re-enter your life or finally be released. Don't ignore that inner knowing. Your soul has been preparing for this sorting process, not to leave you alone, but to guide you toward who is aligned with your new frequency. When we speak of soulmates or soul-aligned relationships, we're not talking about fairy tales. We're talking about resonance, about being seen, heard, and felt without explanation. And those are the kinds of connections that begin to gravitate toward you once you've done the inner clearing that the tower and the star have initiated. The healing you're experiencing is making space for something purer. In that space, only those who match your emotional integrity can remain. That's why this moment isn't about who stays or goes, it's about who's able to meet you in your truth. If you're single, you may be surprised by a new energy entering your life. It could be someone unexpected, someone whose presence stirs something in you you'd long forgotten. It may even be a reconnection with someone from your past, but this time, you're seeing it with new eyes. You're no longer looking to be completed. You're looking to be met. That difference changes everything. For those of you in relationships, today offers an opening, a pause where authenticity can be spoken. Maybe it's time to express something you've been holding back. Maybe it's time to ask a question you've been afraid of the answer to. Or maybe it's simply time to listen more closely to what's being said between the lines. Communication now is less about logic and more about emotional presence. Be willing to be real, even if it's messy. Realness is the only path to intimacy. There's an emotional exercise I often suggest during astrological transits like today's. Take a few quiet minutes, breathe, and write down exactly what you want to receive in a relationship without filtering or judging. Be specific. Be brave. This clarity acts like a beacon for the universe, but more importantly, it helps you recognize when something isn't aligned with what your soul is calling in. And while we aren't speaking in religious terms, there is something undeniably sacred about the way relationships are redirected during pivotal moments like this. Call it divine timing or divine correction, either way, the right connections have a way of circling back when you're ready to receive them fully. There's beauty in that mystery. There's order in the unexpected. If your heart is whispering that you're ready to love with more awareness, more freedom, more trust, then let's claim it. Drop a comment that says, "I open my heart," and let that be your energetic invitation. Not just for romance, but for every soul connection meant to walk beside you in this new chapter. You're not just choosing love. You're choosing love that honors who you've become. And that makes all the difference. Healing doesn't always look like joy. Sometimes, it looks like tears finally released after years of being held back. Libra, today's energy is not about loss, it's about liberation. It's the kind of quiet breakthrough that comes not through external achievement, but through an internal shift in perception. You're not breaking down. You're breaking through. And what's rising from within you is not pain, it's clarity. It's release. It's a deeper sense of knowing that what's no longer meant for you is already being carried away by forces greater than your control. When we've spent so much of our energy holding things together, relationships, roles, unspoken expectations, it's natural to confuse letting go with failure. But it's not failure. It's freedom. Freedom to breathe, to soften, to begin again. The tears you may shed today are not signs of weakness, but sacred evidence that your heart has finally reached its threshold. What spills out now is not your breaking point, but your breaking free point. In the emotional realm of astrology, this is what we call the release window, a space where your soul recalibrates. When Mercury and Neptune communicate, as they do in today's transit, we're gifted a rare clarity cloaked in gentleness. You may realize today that someone you've held on to emotionally no longer holds a place in your future. Or perhaps you come to understand that you've been grieving a version of yourself that no longer exists. These are not losses to mourn. These are spaces opening for what is truly aligned to find you. One of the most empowering beliefs you can adopt in moments like these is this: nothing and no one who is truly meant for you will ever be lost. If someone leaves, if something fades, if a chapter closes, it's because that space is being reclaimed for something more true. Trust that. Trust that you don't need to chase or cling. Trust that your only job is to stay open and honest with yourself. To support this emotional reset, I encourage gentle self-care today. A warm meal not rushed, but savored. Ginger tea to soothe the body. 11 minutes of quiet breathing near a white candle. No intention, no forcing, just allowing your energy to soften and realign. These are small acts, but they create sacred space within the nervous system to hold whatever emotions may arise. And as you breathe, allow these words to echo within: nothing real can be taken. Nothing false can stay. Let this mantra carry you through the release. Let it untangle the loops of guilt or regret. Let it soothe your inner dialogue when fear tries to tell you that you've lost something essential. You haven't. You've only shed what was weighing you down. In these moments, I often remember a truth from one of the most beautiful spiritual traditions: those who sow in tears will one day reap in joy. It's not just a poetic idea. It's a cycle. A promise. And you, Libra, are now in the space between the two. You are sowing from your truth, from your softness, from your surrender. And soon, you will witness the joy that grows from that soil. So if your eyes fill with tears today, honor them. Don't rush them. Don't hide from them. Let them do the work they came to do. And when you're ready, when you've breathed, when you've softened, when the weight begins to lift, claim your freedom aloud. Write it below. Speak it into existence. I am free. Because you are. And this moment right here is your beginning. Dear Libra, this is the moment you've been waiting for, even if you didn't know it until now. October 9th is not just a date on the calendar. It is a divine checkpoint. A soul intervention. A spiritual mirror placed directly in front of your heart so you can no longer look away. Yes, you may cry. Not because you're weak, but because the truth has finally arrived. And it refuses to let you keep pretending. You will see something you never wanted to admit about yourself, about someone you love, about the path you've walked. A truth that has waited patiently in the background will step into the light. And once it does, it changes everything. But this is not punishment. It's your freedom knocking. The universe has been waiting for you to stop surviving in confusion and start living in clarity. What if the heartbreak you feared is the doorway to a deeper alignment? What if the pain you've buried is actually the seed of your greatest transformation? What if the tears that fall today water the very soil where your future miracles will grow? You don't need to have all the answers right now. But you do need to be willing to feel. Because when you allow the truth to wash over you, no matter how shocking, it cleanses you of illusion. That's when the real magic begins. You were never meant to stay trapped in that emotional loop. That relationship you kept excusing. That belief that said you weren't ready, worthy, or strong enough. All of it ends now. That's why the message came through today. And that's why you're watching this. You've been chosen to receive the light, not because you're perfect, but because you're brave enough to face what others avoid. So I ask you, Libra, are you ready to stop surviving and start expanding? Are you willing to embrace the truth, even if it breaks your heart open, just so something more beautiful can flow in? Can you trust that the universe isn't trying to hurt you but to awaken you? Because this is your sacred moment to rewrite the contract. To choose light over illusion. To break ties with old pain and realign with who you were always meant to be. Say it out loud or type it in the comments if you're ready. I no longer live in confusion. I now walk in truth and light. If that affirmation moved something inside you, please like this video to anchor the energy and mark this moment of awakening in your timeline. And if you feel this message was meant for someone else, send it to them. You never know whose life could shift because of your act of love. Finally, if you haven't already, subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is not just a channel. It's a sacred space where divine timing meets divine messages. When Spirit has something to say to you, I'll be here ready to whisper it into your soul at the exact moment you need it most. So, take a deep breath. Let the tears fall if they must. But remember, this pain is not the end. It's your beginning. And your miracle is already on its way. Now, I invite you. What truth found you today? What part of this message struck your heart the most? Let me know in the comments below. Your words might be the mirror someone else needs. You are not alone, Libra. And you never were.